Board Games follows the entrepreneur Marcus Dreer and his determination to accomplish his goals by any means necessary, even if it plummets him down a deadly hole of no return. For all of my book lovers out there, Board Games is a simmering drama that boils into a gripping conclusion, and you can find Board Games 1 and 2 now on Amazon, and is written by yours truly, so you won't be disappointed. You're now tuned into the SoCHiology podcast, the exploration of the Chiverse, which encompasses Chicago culture, politics, history, experiences, legends, and stories from the hearts and minds of Chicagoans themselves. This is SoCHiology episode 47. In this episode, we're talking with Jahmal Cole. Jahmal came from humble beginnings, and one can argue those humble beginnings is the reason why he remains humble to this day. Not humble in a negative connotation or a timid way, but humble in a way that elevates others, that gives others new perspective, that serves everyone around him in the city of Chicago. Jahmal is going to talk about those humble beginnings. He's going to talk about what led him to start the organization My Block, My Hood, My City, and his recent declaration to run for Congress. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So so tell us, Jahmal, like, what was it like growing up?
Yeah, I'm from Milwaukee, man. It's like 45 minutes away from here, well, south side.
Right.
And, what was it like? I mean, what was it like? Is the tallest building of where I'm from is the jail, like the county jail. And so, at nighttime, when we go get hamburgers at the spot called Jordy's or Hillary's, we look up and watch people playing basketball at the top, and all of my role models went to jail. Like, so, when my sister, she graduated high school from jail. So, my brother went to jail. My role model was doing 80 years in jail. My other person in my household was doing 40 years in jail. So what was it like was that, very isolated, but also very narrow-minded. Like, that's how we were. In Waukegan, there's no CTA. So it's not like Chicago where there's so much more, museums and resources. It's very isolated. Isolation leads to that narrow-mindedness, which we had. So it's kind of country in that kind of way. In Chicago, there's like 30 people at the gas stations. That's unheard of in Milwaukee. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Also, so I would just say that it was we were in poverty of not only money but poverty of imagination. A deficit of hope is what we had because I never saw a college graduate until I was 17. So not a black one at least. And so it was for me, man. It was I grew up where my mother would send. She would give me a food stamp, my brother a food stamp, and my sister a food stamp, and say, go to the corner store and bring me back, a $2.70 change so I could buy bleach because you couldn't use food stamps for basic toiletries.
Right.
And so I grew up breaking into houses early on. I mean, I started breaking into houses at 9. You know what I mean? The first time I ever had lasagna was when I broke into a house. And when I tasted it, I was like, oh, this is what it tastes like to be rich.
Yeah.
I got caught stealing at 10 years old, and my dad was proud of me. He's like, you're going to be a president one day, because I stole some school supplies. I stole a trapper keeper and a protractor. And he was like, man, my dad, he was proud of the police station when he picked me up. So I grew up breaking into houses to eat cereal. Like, this is how I grew up. So when I think about, just being so embarrassed that I was so embarrassed that I had to eat at the homeless shelter all the time because my classmates in grade school would be volunteering or middle school would be volunteering. They had the clear gloves. It doesn't embarrass him, but my dad would say, hold your head up high when you go get that food, So growing up to me was a great adventure because, when you have to sleep outside and you're homeless and you sleep in the motels and you're eating Little Debbie snacks for dinner and looking for loose change and spending time in movie theaters all day because that's what you do to kill time.
Yeah.
You can watch 3 movies in the same day. So when I have a story to tell about how I grew up, but it was just that every day was like, whew, it was a lot.
Yeah. It sounds like it, man. Because, first of all, let's just say, this is in a time where link cards didn't exist. So when you talk about food stamps, you talk about literal stamps. You know what I'm saying? I remember those, when they look like dollar bills. All of that.
Yep.
And so it wasn't no link card going on, wasn't no PIN numbers, none of that. And I can, I don't want to say I understand your story because I didn't live your story, but I have a similar perspective because me and my mom, we moved around a lot. When I was growing up, I was the only child. I didn't have any siblings. And I definitely know what it's like to have to be homeless. You feel me? To have to, you can't afford to go to the grocery store, so you gotta go to the shelters to get food, the pantries. I can understand that perspective. So it sounds like, it's like the typical story, right? Everybody's story is different, but the narrative is the same. It's like out of desperation, you do things that you shouldn't be doing. The first time you tasted lasagna was when you did something you wasn't supposed to be doing.
True. That's a fact.
Yeah, like how does that, like, I mean, I feel like it's an obvious answer, but I still gotta ask, like, tell us how did that motivate you when you was growing up in Waukegan, and you seeing your family in this state, you seeing other people who look like you in the state. You said that you didn't see a Black college graduate to 17. What motivated you to say, you know what, this ain't life. This ain't how life should be. And this is how I want my life to be.
I had a great parents. They were crazy in their own right, but they were great parents. My dad, he, even though he was he put me through a lot, and that he apologizes for a lot today. But it was I saw my dad wear a suit and tie every day. Even though we were going to the homeless shelter, even though we lived in a motel, even though things would knock on the door at night, he always had a typewriter and was like, "This next book gonna get me kicked out the country, son." I had one of them dads where if I broke into a house, I can go show him what I stole. Let me show you what I stole. And he would get mad at me, not for stealing the stuff, but if I did it with people. Like, you should never do stuff with people because they're gonna tell on you. You know what I mean? I had a dad that was my best friend through it all. But my dad always told me, "You're gonna be a senator one day. Like, this is what you don't need to be stealing. You don't need to be doing drugs because you're gonna be one of the best people in the world." My dad played the movie Malcolm X so many times. I thought Denzel Washington was Malcolm X. But you know what I mean? Like, I watched Malcolm. Like, people was watching Aladdin. I was watching Malcolm X. I was listening to, Booker. I was listening to Robert Kennedy. You know what I mean? I was reading about Booker T. Washington. I was reading, just the fire next time. You know what I mean? I just had a different type of dad that really was. He ran for alderman when I was like 11. You know what I mean? So. Yeah. It didn't work out for him, but at the same time, that's what's made my dad always allowed me to dream bigger than my surroundings. He believed in me more than he believed in anything, and I didn't believe in myself, but he believed that I was going to the NBA or I was going to do whatever I wanted to do. So it was that unwavering belief that my dad had in me that really made me just know I could know I was going to go to college, even though I knew I was going to be where I was at today because my dad just straight up believed in me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge. Like, that's a huge, like, even in the midst of despair and chaos, you had that love from your parents. And, I think that's why, people need to understand that that's so crucial. Your parents it's so crucial that your parents love you. Like, think about it, y'all going through everything that y'all going through, but your dad still believed in you. Your dad still poured into you. You know what I'm saying? Your dad still, taught you ways on how to navigate the streets, to avoid, even worse consequences than, the ones that caught up with you. So, as you grew older, when did you make your way to Chicago? Tell us about, like your college years and, things like that.
As far as how I got to Chicago, well, my mom's from the west side of Chicago, so her nickname is Glow. Yeah, my mom's from the west. Everybody's from the west side of Chicago. I mean, everybody's from Mississippi, and then they moved to Chicago, right? So, and my dad's from Fort Worth, Texas. So, my whole family lives on the west side of Chicago. My mom moved when she was 25 years old to Waukegan, so she's having kids and she wanted us to be safer. But that's the misconception about moving to a dilapidated area. But the point is that that's where we moved to. So she raised us in Waukegan. But so when I graduated college, Waukegan, I always dreamed bigger than that area. I always knew I was going to be bigger than that area. So because I wanted to be like Malcolm X and selling books on the corner, and I wanted to help people. And so where are the people? They are on the street corner of Michigan Avenue. So I started writing motivational books and standing in front of Foot Locker, like Malcolm X, just talking to people about the dangers of the currency exchange, talking to people about why the red line should expand further south, like whatever issues were impacting that area. So that's kind of, and then I started volunteering at Cook County Jail, of course, and that's what got me to Chicago.
Yeah. So it's just like you basically just hit the ground running, like literally. It's like you had that desire to help people that was in similar situations that you were in, because you knew that it wasn't right. And you said your dad played Malcolm X so much that you thought Denzel was Malcolm X. It's in a sense, it's kind of like you wanted to be Malcolm X because that's what you said, right? You really wanted to just be out there helping people. It's like you minimized yourself for the greater good of others and maximizing them. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I wanted to be cool. Like, people want to be like Michael Jordan. My mother didn't teach me basketball, but she spent hours teaching me how to do hand gestures and memorize my presentations. Like, to this day, I never look at any notes on presentations. The first speech I gave was when I was 4 years old. I said, "We, the class of 1988, are determined to be our best at whatever we say or do. We'll share a smile and lend a hand to our neighbor, because no matter what, we'll be the best in a lifetime." Like, those 50 words, that was the entirety of my preschool graduation speech. And my mom made me memorize it. My dad said I wrote it, but I gave she showed me how to do the hand gestures, and that really became a mission statement of my life. So, I feel like when I graduated college, I came to Chicago, and that's when it started dawning on me that the way that I was raised was, I thought, oh man, you were raised for something bigger than being a rapper, or the reason why you could present isn't because you're good at rap, it's because you are a great storyteller. You need to use your stories to as your vulnerable stories will create a bridge to help people, and that's pretty much the trick to what I do.
Yeah. And this all sounds like the lead up and the spark to the M3. Tell us about M3. When did you start M3? What is the mission of M3, and the work that is doing in the city of Chicago?
Yeah, well, my block, my city is it's basically, our mission statement is to take care of people no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a broad mission statement, but that's what it is. What does that mean? It means that if there's a snowstorm, we're going to show up to help people. If there's a heat wave, we're going to go buy water and go buy fans to give it to seniors. Right. If there's COVID-19, 8,000 seniors reached out to us from 12 different states, and we're able to support those seniors with connecting to primary healthcare physicians, doing PPE. We're able to help them with whatever they need, right? Connecting, food, whatever. Like, there's no grants for that. So we're like the Red Cross for the neighborhoods. We show up and we take care of people no matter what. That's what we do. When it comes to these small businesses that need relief, we used our Instagram page to raise, $1 million in one day, and we distributed that money to over 300 small businesses. Just this week, we announced $200,000 more we're giving away in micro grants to businesses that are just trying to survive right now and stay afloat.
Yeah.
Like, we exist, we keep our ear to the streets and we help out, man. Like, I want to do job guarantees for Block Club captains. I want to, my block, my hood, my city is my way of like saying democracy starts from the block. That's not what the government can do for you. What can you do for the government? Well, what I can do is use my curiosity and my energy to figure out what people need. And I can also use my creativity and storytelling ability to raise a lot of money and do more than expected. Mm-hmm. And since I don't have a battery in my back, I can do whatever I want to do with the money. And so what I do is continue to help people. So, and my block, my hood, my city started just volunteering at the jail. Now, I'm not from Chicago. Again, I got to Chicago and none of the kids in the jail want to hear me speak. Yeah. But my life changed when I got to the jail, because, just seeing people in shackles, like real shackles, that'll make you cry. I mean, you're seeing 15-year-old kids in shackles and walking in a single file line like they're a slave. And they weigh 120 pounds and they're remorseful, they're funny, they got great personalities. And when you're talking to them, you're like, man, it sucks. And so it just so happened, I used to always ask the kids, like, where are you from? And they'd always be like, man, my block is 21st Street. Well, my hood is the low end. Mm-hmm. And I used to always say, like, why do y'all say my block and my hood like with such passion? Like, you're so parochial. Like, what? You don't own anything. Why don't you say my city? And that's when all the kids was like, oh man, ain't no black people downtown. Ain't no black people in Wicker Park. And since I stood downtown and sold books every day, I was like, well, who told you that? And so I knew right away. I mean, God spoke to me. I was like, my job in life is to expose teenagers from the hood to places like downtown. And if I do that, they won't go to jail. It was that simple.
Yeah.
And so I just started showing up in the barbershops and taking kids downtown and exposing them to the top of the Sears Tower, Greek Town, the National Hellenic Museum, Athena Greek restaurant. Just I can't take you to China, but I can take you to Chinatown. You know what I mean? It was easy, bro. And so I just started in the barbershops, and that's how I did it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you basically was giving them field trips outside of the school system. You
Yeah,
know, it was like
yeah.
that's what you
Mm-hmm.
was doing, and
Yep.
you know you can't be something that you haven't seen, right? You know, it's
Oh,
like
yep.
you
Yep.
can't be something you haven't seen, and so many Black youth haven't seen things outside of their block, their hood.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
all they see is, you know, the gangs. They see the drug dealers, and that's why most of them want to become that, and they become assimilated into that. But once you
Mm-hmm.
expose them to say, you know, hey, you can be a Fortune 500 CEO. Look at this Black man that's a Fortune 500 CEO. You know, you can be a physician, you can be a lawyer, you can be anything. You ain't got to be, you know, the suit and tie careers, the white collar,
Mm-hmm.
but you can be anything that expands beyond your block, your hood.
Mm-hmm.
And you took that initiative because you know, when you saw them at the jail, you know, it sounds like it really resonated with your heart, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean, all my role models were in jail. Like my organization to this day is called Role Model Movement. That's all my role models were in jail now. They're still in jail now. But I called it my block, my hood, my city because, you know, when I was in the jail, everybody kept on talking about they blocking their hood. And you know, when you're from Chicago, you grew up here, you know, I mean, if you can make it in Chicago, you can make it anywhere. So I just want to be clear to say
Yeah.
that the city of Chicago has failed a lot of kids. I mean, anytime that you have to order your food through bulletproof glass windows every day, like it's regular, that ain't regular, right? Any time where, you know, there's 15 currency exchanges in your neighborhood and ain't no banks, that's not regular. Like
Yeah.
anytime where, you know, you walk into Walgreens and all the cough syrup is locked up, then that's not regular. Right?
Yeah.
That anytime that, you know, you you know, the biggest billboard in your community says cheap divorces and $6,000 tax advances, that's not regular. But you grew up in Chicago, people don't even notice. They don't even know. Oh, I didn't even notice the bulletproof glass windows, Jahmal. I didn't even notice the currency exchange was charging me 3% of my $100 bill, and they got the bulletproof glass up. Like, who's really being robbed? Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't even realize we were spending $40 million in my community a year on lottery tickets, Jahmal. Are you talking about the good people at the currency exchange? I mean, that's the kind of people. That's how people talk to me. So I realized that if you grow up in Chicago, something's really wrong. It's like we've become desensitized to these societal injustices. Like when you walk out of Walmart and they check your receipt, like that, nobody even notices that anymore. When you walk into Aldi's and they ask you, let me check your debit card to make sure you got $100, that's not regular. But in Chicago, it happens so much that people just you talking about the good people, all these Jamal. So I realized that people don't know you, so you got to show them better for them to do better, and that's what I do, man. I speak truth. I highlight the injustices, and I just propose solutions to them as activists. That's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, man. Like we hear the passion. We hear the passion in your voice as you're talking about it, and like I'm enjoying it. What year did you start My Block, My Hood, My City?
I incorporated in 2016, but I
2016.
started it. I mean, I moved to Chatham on the South Side in 2007. So I mean,
Okay.
I was always an activist and speaking at the library. Just nobody was showing up to hear me speak. But I
Right.
was always doing it. But I didn't incorporate to 2016.
Got you. So basically, you've been doing it since 2007. We just gonna say 2007.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
2000.
Yep.
Yeah, you've been
Yep.
doing it for over
Yep.
10 years. You know,
Yep. Yep.
and you know the impact that has had on it. So like, let me tell you how I became aware of My Block, My Hood, My City. And it's crazy because like, you know how you see something and you never seen it before, but then you start to see a lot of it. Like if you see a car, like you see a
Yeah.
Jaguar, a green Jaguar, and then now you see a black Jaguar, then you see an orange Jaguar. It's like, damn, where are all these
Yeah.
Jaguars coming from? So that's what
Yeah.
happened. Like I was I was walking down the street one day, ironically, downtown. It was
Okay.
downtown.
Yeah.
This was before the pandemic.
Okay.
And I just saw somebody that had a hoodie on that said, My Block, My Hood, My City. I'm like, oh, that's nice. You know, and then like some days later, I saw somebody else with the hoodie. And then I saw a hoodie again, like a month later, and they were all different color schemes and all that. I'm like, the hell is this? My Block, My Hood, My, what is it? You know what I'm saying? So like I just Googled it, and then that's when I came across the website. I'm like, oh, this is nice. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, I'm just looking at the pictures, you know, just the kids, you know, just out doing community service. And like you said earlier, like at the Sears Tower, the pictures, on the sky deck, things like that. And, obviously on social media, you can see like all of the different things that you guys do with the kids. I saw something like y'all took the kids to Michigan, it was just like, it's refreshing. And, I can speak again, like from someone who, had a very humble beginning as well and background, you know, I didn't get exposed to a lot of things like that, but the few bright spots I did have was my cousin Sonny. May he rest in peace. But my cousin Sonny was one of the first people that, basically was doing what you were doing. He would take me, downtown. I still, to this day, I still have the picture of me and him when we went to the Sears Tower when I was a young kid. He would take me to the Museum of Science and Industry. And now the Museum of Science and Industry isn't that far from my home, but back then, growing up in the South suburbs, this was a whole nother world, and he would take me to these places. He would take me out to eat. He would show me the Chicago River and, Soldier Field and, Wrigley Field, all these things. And it might sound like it's nothing now in 2022, but to kids who ain't never seen that, that's the world. That's the world. And you was showing these kids the world. Like Chicago, I always say Chicago is a universe. Chicago is bigger.
What you mean by that?
Yeah, it's bigger than Roseland. It's bigger than Inglewood. It's bigger than wherever you're from. Like Chicago has so many different moving parts to it. Like so many different neighborhoods are so diverse. It's so much history, so much culture to it. And these kids need to be exposed to it. Adults need to be exposed to it,
I mean, when I first moved here, I went to all 77 community areas and I started a blog. That's what my blog, my city was me just asking people what's good in their neighborhood. And when teenagers got out of jail, I started showing them how to utilize the camera and the video camera too and help me do it. And when I started taking kids around, people were just like, oh, you like the new Boy Scouts. I was like, what do you mean? Like, the thing is, you got to listen to the universe for things to pop for you. Like, just if you do what you love, you organically start building relationships that'll help you. But I feel like the point is, man, yeah, you're 100% right. If you show people better, they'll do better. If they don't know better, they can't do better. Exposure is key. Traveling is transformative, and it just it's in Chicago. You can travel the world without leaving Chicago. Well, it's a very segregated city. But at the same time, people think they're so different, but we're really not, because if you go to Pilsen, they're eating tortilla beef and rice, right? You go to Greektown, they're eating pita beef and rice. You go to Divine Avenue, they eat non-beef and everybody eating the same thing in the city. You think you're so different. I just think it's just crazy. So I do think that the city is segregated, and I think that that matters because the racial divisions, they matter because the disparities. It's like there's a lot of inequity in Chicago. So some communities have more resources, some communities don't, and that's not fair. Yeah. And those, so I can talk a lot about racial divisions, but the point is that exposing kids to different sides of the city is very helpful because it expands their worldview.
Yeah, big time, and you're giving them another outlet that the school system isn't giving them. For whatever the reason is, we're not going to get into it. It's just the fact is, it's not giving them that.
Well, I'm gonna get into it. That's why I'm running for Congress. But I feel like that. I feel like it's really just that oppression is real, and it's a structural part of our country and its history, and it was created intentionally. And nowadays, people, they don't know how injustice is being sustained. So that's why they say, "You talking about the good people at the currency exchange?" Is they don't know. They don't know. It's like when you get mad, you don't get mad at the federal government. You get mad at your landlord for the rent too high. You're not talking about what are fair market rent prices in Chicago. You're not thinking about that. You're thinking like when people that live in the most under-resourced communities are more conservative than people that live in affluent communities, because you'd rather deal with the devil every day. You know what you're gonna get. You know what you gotta get when you're walking down the street. But you step outside your comfort zone and have your ideas tested is uncomfortable. So it's like when I'm running for Congress, 95% of people don't ever run for federal office. They run for local office. Why is that? Well, that's because 95% of you people you meet say, man, you should run for alderman. Oh, I don't know if you can win Congress. Oh man, who do you think you are? Right. It's like Jay-Z uncle when he told him he ain't never gonna sell 1 million records. Jay-Z sold 1 million records 1 million times. Oh, are you talking about the good people at the currency exchange? It's the same kind of idea. And so I think that but the point is that when they see me running for Congress and they see me from the block, they're gonna be like, man, Jahmal, are my ideas good enough? Oh, I can believe in myself like that unreasonably? Yes, man. And so it's all about just following. Like my people are running for Congress. I'm running for the platform so I can fight for them kids that went to alternative high schools that don't believe in themselves. Them kids that grew up in homeless shelters and was embarrassed to get their food. I'm a victim of gun violence. I was just shot in the arm a couple months ago. The bullet's still in my arm. I go through a metal detector at the airport. They stop me, right? My life experiences will influence what policies I make Congress focus on because I've gone through it. I'm the only candidate in the race that actually can say that. I mean, I'm not a career politician.
Yeah, 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 and let's talk about that a little bit more. So, you're running for the first congressional district of Illinois, the seat that Bobby Rush has held for damn near my whole life. I'm just gonna keep it real. And Bobby Rush has said that he's not gonna run for re-election. So that's what you're running for. That's the seat, the first district, first congressional district of Illinois. So you just said it, like you prefaced it, like, a lot of people decide if they decide to run for office, it's local or a state, but no one runs for federal. So you jumped right into it and you said, look, we're gonna do this. Like, what was the moment when you was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this shit?
Yeah, the moment was when I was scared to do it. That's when you should do it. I mean, the moment was when I walked up to Bobby Rush, Congressman Rush, 2 years ago in Pearl's restaurant and said, hey, man, I always wanted to run for office. When do I know if I'm ready? He's like, well, you never know you're ready. You just do it. And so I did it. And I was giving a speech in Beverly in February last year. And when I started speaking, the police officers turned on their sirens to try to drown me out. I was like, oh, interesting. And I need a bigger platform because you guys want to drown me out. That's fine. And then as I was walking through the community, there was a group of organizers that asked me, have I ever considered running for Congress? And they approached me, and then I made up my mind the next day. I said, I'm going to do it. And I filed with my own, there's no battery in my back. I was the first person to announce I was running. And I think it's important to know that because 100 people just entered the race when Congressman Rush last week said he wasn't going to go for a 16 term. And you have to, first of all, I also want to say salute to Congressman Rush. He's a legend, a giant. He showed it was possible to fight for things in federal government and bring his fight to Washington. He was a Boy Scout. He was a Army veteran. He was an alderman. 15 terms in office. He was a founding member of the Black Panther Party. A giant. A salute to him for a lifetime of activism. So that's one thing. But the thing is, the fact of the matter is, I was the first person to announce. I did it when it was inconvenient and uncomfortable. I told him to his face, I believe the federal government should be doing more for us on the South Side of Chicago. I'm not going to teeter-totter around a lot of issues. I'm not looking for another career move like a lot of these people that it seems that that's what they do, but that's good for them. They all are qualified. They all should do whatever they want to do. Here's the fact. I'm not running against Congressman Rush. I'm not running against all these other qualified individuals. I'm running for better schools. I'm running for public safety. I'm running against poverty. I'm running against gun violence. I'm not running against these other people. So I just want to just let people know that because I'm glad that I chose to run for the U.S. Congress. Now I proved to be right because now everybody's jumping in the race. But a year ago, these same people that were entering the race were calling me up saying how proud they were of me and how much they want to support me. And how much they was going to do this and when that type of stuff, man, it just goes to show you, man. It just goes to show you that this whole race, when you jump into politics, principalities start coming at you, bro. You got to deal with ego. You got to deal with your own ego. So many things are going to try to stop you, man. You know how when you started your podcast, when you started this thing, when you're getting close to it coming out, you might have a bill hit you out of nowhere, man. I can't get what I need. Or the tribulations are indicators that you're actually on the right path. Yeah. But you don't recognize success by what you get. You recognize the success by saying, man, Lord, I've been through this before. Like it's the tribulations. And then politics is so magnified because it's public humiliation. It's failure in front of a lot of people. Yeah. And so you have to be able to say, you know what? I'm okay with not knowing. Can you say that in front of a million people? Let me ask you right now. People ask you, hey, your natural tendency is to want to look smart and look like and look like you know what the hell you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But we both know that you can only be smart in a narrow sphere of whatever the hell you do. You know, you're not that smart. Like you might be smart when it comes
everything.
to exactly, but can you say that in front of people? That's the demons be coming at you. Are you going to look smart in front of these lawyers, or are you going to tell people, you know what? Hey man, my only skill in life is to have enough energy. I'm curious to go to these communities and ask people, how can I help? Can you? If you can't, that's where I'm going to shine. I'm going to shine in that. Because I can do that. I can stand downtown with nothing and make something. I know I can. So.
Yeah. And let's talk about that. So real quick, let's educate the listeners on what does the first district encompass in Illinois? Like what areas is that so people can understand, so they can make a map in their mind.
Gotcha. Well, the maps just changed recently. So, I mean, if you live in Hyde Park, for instance, and you're on 53rd Street, if you go to Phil's Coffee on the south side of 53rd, that's the second district. But that's the first district. But if you go to Dunkin' Donuts across the street, that's the second district. So it's really kind of, it's the best way I can explain it is from Bronzeville all the way to Manhattan. So it's Bronzeville, Hyde Park, Chatham, parts of Woodlawn, parts of Inglewood, parts of Roseland, parts of Beverly, parts of New Lenox, or parts of Blue Island, parts of New Lenox.
So we're going west. We're going southwest.
Yep. New Lenox, Manhattan, Tinley Park. We're talking about all the way southwest. Yes.
Got it.
And it stops at about Manhattan. So, or in Mokina, you can't forget that. Those places. Orland Park, that's the first district. Calumet City, that's the first district. So.
Okay, got it. And, so obviously, you've been speaking, you've been out in the streets, the trenches, as the youngins say these days. You've been out there for years. What are some of the most common things that the citizens of the first district are telling you that they want or that they need?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about, people in Tinley Park and people in New Lenox. We got it out here. We cool. We just can't, we scared to jump on the highway because you need to fix the violence. That's the number one issue is like gun violence. And then, people care about the environment. People care about Medicare, healthcare, counselors in schools, one counselor per 500 kids. That's not right. But the number one issue is gun violence. And so how I'm going to address that is just, we have to talk about this nebulous term called gun violence. What does that actually mean? Now, I just told you I was shot. Recently, I got shot. And then I was shot at again a month later in broad day with a machine gun. So I know about this all too well.
I knew about the other incident, but wow.
Yeah, bro. I got exactly broad daylight in Hyde Park on 53rd and Harper, right in front of Virtue. This happened to me. They shot out the Kilwin's ice cream shop and the motel across the street. That happened to me in broad day. But the point is that and this was a month after I was shot that I got shot at. So I'm still dealing with the PTSD. The point is that what does gun violence mean? Okay. And by the way, the guy that killed the people in Hyde Park, the kid, he did it for $100. He cashed a cell phone and he stole for $100. Why couldn't we have given that guy $100? Like he probably needed it the next day, but the point is he killed the U Chicago student for $100, man. That's how. So that has to sting a little bit. Here I'll get to the point. Gun violence is not the way poverty and segregation contribute to gun violence is poorly understood. So gun violence shouldn't be a reality. It's a reflection of a few things. But before I get to what it is, let me give you a metaphor. If a plane goes down today, you're going to say, dang, man, why'd the plane go down? Oh, let's look at the black box. Okay, there's an electric issue or engine failure. Something happened. We know why it went down. Understand. When gun violence happens in Chicago, no one says, why is it happening? They say, oh, them black people crazy. Them kids, they don't know what they do. Too much hip hop music. They don't, let's call it gun violence. That doesn't make sense, bro. Something happened. Let me tell you what happened. 5 things I've identified.
Okay.
Racial and economic injustice, high incarceration rates, high unemployment rates, poor neighborhoods, and under-resourced schools. When you have those 5 conditions, that's the perfect storm for so-called gun violence. So the question shouldn't be, why is there so much gun violence? The question is, why isn't there more? Because if there's those 5 conditions I just talked about, that's perfect. That's an F5 storm for what we're talking about. It's called gun violence. So what can you do about it from a federal government perspective? I can show you what I'm doing about it from a nonprofit perspective, because it works. My nonprofit organization is one of the most impactful in the country. We work with 150 students a month. We've sent up thousands of kids to college. So I know what works from a nonprofit level. I'm not changing that at all. I'm running for federal office to be a partner in government for nonprofits. So I'm not saying the government knows what to do. I'm just trying to slash the red tape for the nonprofits that are putting their own money up to start programs. You might not be going downtown to be a hustler like me to make the money. So you might not use Instagram like me. We want to identify the Diane Ladekers and Roselands, the Aisha Butlers in Inglewood, the Fatales in Inglewood, the Will Callaways in South Shore. We want to uplift the work that they're doing. I'm an activist. I'm a partner in government for my friends. But let me tell you what you can do from the federal level. We need reparations. When you talk about racial and economic injustice, why can't we have reparations? When you talk about high incarceration rates, in Finland, did you know the maximum life sentence is 10 years? And how can we reimagine what justice looks like in a country? When you talk about unemployment, can we have federal job guarantees? What if the federal government paid you to do this podcast? What if the federal government could offer you $25 an hour in benefits to do something valuable for Hyde Park or Inglewood or Roseland? What does your neighborhood need, and what would you do that would give you dignity in doing it, right? Yeah. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm running for, man. It's just stories over policies, man. I'm going to make the federal government care about what's going on the South Side, bro.
Yeah, I mean, all of that sounds thorough, and I know that's a very brief, summarized version that you just gave us, but all of that sounds super thorough. And is I saw someone say this on social media a couple weeks ago, and they said that basically politics isn't hard; it should be simple, right? It's like, as a resident, I tell you what I need. As a constituent, that is, I tell you what I need, and if you represent where I live, you fight for what I need, and then you keep doing it. But politics have failed the Black community for so many years, and we can't even just say it's just white politicians, because Black ones have done it too, big time, right? And it's been happening for so long that, specifically us Black people, we have lost trust in the political system, right? We lost trust on the local level, we lost trust on the state level, been lost trust on the federal level. So as a Black man from the block, the hood, that's representing the block, the hood, and the city, how do you repair that trust? Right? Okay, like, obviously, yeah, you do what you say you're gonna do, but like, how do you even begin to repair that trust for people who are like right now, like, yeah, I'm skeptical, whatever, like, how do you even try to rectify that? Because that's another principality, that's another barrier, right? I'm not running for office, so I can't imagine how to navigate that, but like, can you speak on that?
I think it's acknowledging that what you're saying is true, and acknowledging that you don't have all the answers. I mean, I think that's the first, is like, you don't go into a school and say, hey, I'm going to help all the students. I know exactly what to do. I know how. No, you go to the principal and say, how can I help? What do you guys, point me to the lunchroom. I'll just go talk to the kids, and I want to learn and listen. So I think the first thing is like acknowledging that pain and that distrust is real. And I feel the same way. I feel the same way as you. And so I think once you get to that level of listening to people and then show up again, like, you got to show up before you need something. That's how you build trust. You don't just show up to somebody's party when you were that favor to ask. You don't just show up to a nonprofit gala because you want to work with that nonprofit. You show up and build a relationship. And then when something happens, now you have a relationship. It's the same thing. I think if you're running for U.S. Congress and you're out there trying to build trust, you're never going to win, because you should already have that. Your track record people should already know and trust. If they don't know and trust you at this point, it's too you hustling backwards. And so I don't see what I'm doing is actually when I show it to people, they know that I'm going to pitch a tent in Washington, D.C. if we don't get what they want. They know that I speak hoodie language already. I'm going to do the same thing when I'm in D.C. They know I'm an activist and a fighter. They know that my story, because I'm going to hold Congress accountable for caring about homelessness and caring about alternative high schools and nonprofits and gun violence, because I'm a victim of those things. I have high name recognition already. So that's not, but to answer your question though, bro, like, there's so much that I don't know. But one thing I've learned from being an activist is that people know what they need. And I just need to pretty much just use my brain to connect them to what they need. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to you, listen as much as I can, and figure out what can I learn from this conversation we had tonight. Same thing I do with kitchen table discussions, man. Same thing. So.
Yeah. And, like we had said earlier in the podcast, you basically started doing the work for M3, My Block, My Hood, My City in 2007, right? You ain't incorporated since 2016, but you've been doing it since 2007. So that's 15 years of consistent track work of you actually doing and providing for people, So I think that right there, like I asked you the question because I wanted to ask the question, but the answer is, in my opinion, that right there is already how you can repair that trust. Like, look, I've been doing it. Like I've been, I just haven't been a politician, but I've been doing it.
And I always knew I was going to do what I'm doing now. Like this has always been the plan. Like this has always been a part of it. It's just I just didn't vocalize it. I just didn't tell. I always knew that this is what I was going to do. Like I didn't know what office was going to be. I always thought I'd run for mayor first. But when I recognized that Harold Washington ran for Congress, then I recognized that Rahm Emanuel ran for Congress first, and they won and they built national connections. I was like, oh, that's the road that I think I'm going to take too. But it was really like just. It really even I learned that after the fact. Like it never was about what office I was going to do. It was more about what the people wanted me to do, and the people asked me to run for Congress first. And that's when I was like, oh, Harold Washington was Congress. Oh, Rahm Emanuel was in Congress. Interesting. So I mean, I'm bro. Win, lose or draw. My goal is to take us. Well, I'm going to win, but the point when it's not. Maybe I'm winning in a different realm. I don't know what God has for me, but I'm going to stand with integrity for what I believe in. And I was homeless growing up, but now my 11-year-old daughter gets to see me doing what I'm doing. Now I'm winning, bro. I'm already winning. This is not even like I can go to Africa tomorrow and in Langa Township and start an explorers program. I'm winning. Like who's going to be losing is the first district if I'm not in office, because we've been losing for a long time now. Yeah. The south side of Chicago, we're losing when it comes to resources for our schools. We're losing when it comes to police just doing whatever they want to do and not being held accountable for their actions. We're losing when it comes to kids not dreaming bigger than their surroundings. We're losing in so many ways. So, hey, people can vote for who they want to vote for, but we know just look at when we get on stage and start debating and stuff like that. Just ask yourself, who on this stage do I believe has a track record, not just telling me, has a track record of showing up for me? And then that's what I want people to look at. Who shows up? And then Google that. And then you'll see me with a shovel. That's what you'll see.
Yeah. And I said this before, and I'm gonna say it again, it's just the passion. The passion is just oozing through the speakers. And you can tell it's authentic. But again, you look at my block, my hood, my city, you go on the Instagram page, it's over 90,000 followers. And, it is contagious, right? I talk about how energy is contagious. And, when you actually are doing something for someone and it's not transactional, people tend to buy in more, right? And, with the organization that you have done and like all the great things you did on the South Side, West Side, just the entire city of Chicago, and how it has spread across the country, that's no coincidence. And you said it's whatever God has in store for you. You're a man of faith. Do you believe like all of this was like divine? Like you said, your father ran for alderman when you were a child. He didn't win, but nonetheless he ran. And so that was like kind of like your introduction to politics, in a sense. That was your introduction. Do you think this is like kind of like a full circle divine moment that, here you are now in 2022 running for federal office versus that young Jahmal that witnessed his father, was out there trying to sign petitions. Do you think this is like a divine full circle moment, or like, how do you think your faith plays into all of this?
Well, I mean, all my heroes were killed. I mean, so like, when I think about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy and these type of people, that's the path that that was the path that I wanted to go. And the things that have happened to me, just losing my home, being shot. I mean, my home went in foreclosure trying to start my block in my city. I went through a divorce. I made a lot of, if I could do it over again, bro, there's a lot of things I would do differently. It was a lot to get to where I'm at, was a lot of pain. But the thing is, I'm trying to say is like, divine, yeah, bro. The only thing that I can tell you is that at those moments where the tribulation starts happening, the best thing to do is just have faith. It's hard to say it. It's hard to believe that because there's so many spirits out here of worry. Do you know that there's a spirit of worry that be in your room knocking on your door? You be like, I'm worried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm worried what people gonna think about me. I'm worried am I gonna be good enough? Do you know that people ain't, bro? The best way to do it is that I'm just gonna have faith. Did I do more than expected today? Meaning, did I wake up early and work out? Did I read today? Did I make a conscious effort to do more than if people expect, and not do it for just. The question isn't how much money I'm making, is what am I becoming? Like, did you read 10 pages today? If you didn't read 10 pages today, what are we talking about, man? Because you can't even, if you can save 5 years by reading a book. So if you didn't read about how to start a podcast, or you didn't read about how to start your nail business, or you didn't read about what you're not serious. And you have a timid approach to life. That's what you're doing. So no, man, this is what you did. And so I feel like yeah, man, I feel like God has his hands on it. That's why I can actually, and I'm so flawed. I'm getting better every day, man. But I've learned that I just have to stay humble and let God do what he's gonna do, and try not to just let his will be done, and keep on praying every day, and keep on and helping people as best as I can. And you know, if I do want to win, because I actually want to dedicate my life to helping as many people as possible, and on the south side of Chicago, and I'm excited. I'm present. I'm so excited for the moment. But that's yeah. I know it's God, man. It's let his will be done. So
let his will be done. I mean, that's it. That's it right there. That's yeah. I mean, there ain't really nothing else to say after that, bro. Like, that's powerful though. Like, real talk. You know, I definitely, you know, like I said, I don't know if I said it on the recording or before the recording, but you know, I've been following your work for some time, and you know, it's definitely a blessing to see Black men like you. This is no shade to our Black women, because we know what our Black women are capable of and what our Black women are doing every day. But you know, to see a Black man like yourself just get right into it, just go into the trenches, go into the streets, and just start, you know, just showing Black youth more than their block and their hood. That's commendable, and we need more of it.
Thank you.
More of it. Definitely on the south side and the west side, because you know that there is no hope, there is no faith, right? That's why that perfect storm continues to grow. You know, the gun violence, the crime, the anger. But, you know, again, the first time you had lasagna was when you committed a crime, right? That's why it happens, because the faith and the hope is there. But when more of us have faith and when more of us have hope, that energy is contagious. And now the perfect storm starts to dissipate, and that fire starts to spread of, you know, faith, that fire of hope, you know, it starts to spread and it catches on, you know, it's a beautiful thing to witness. And, you know, I know that the listeners and the viewers are going to be blessed by this message. I know people are constantly blessed by you whenever you speak around the city of Chicago, and they're going to be blessed as you continue to grow in all of your endeavors. So my last question, my final question for you, and I feel like, you know, you definitely have said it inadvertently, but I want to ask directly. What is the central motivation for everything that you do? If you had to nail it down to one thing or one experience or one emotion, what is the central motivation for my block, my hood, my city? What is the central motivation for running for Congress? What is the central motivation for simply just being you? The role model for your 11-year-old daughter, you know, what is it?
Service. I think that that's what I'm good at. Like, I'm good at helping people. Yeah. Like that's, some people got a crossover, some people can jump out the gym, some people can catch a football. I'm good at helping, and so in service, and I like being around good stuff, and so I like using my ideas to help. And so when I'm in that vein, I can't lose. I mean, I met Russell Simmons one time, and I was like, man, I need $1 million to start my program. Can you give me $1 million? This was 10 years ago. I was so mad he didn't give me $1 million. He's like, you don't need no money. I was like, why? He's eating his pizza. He's like, you don't need money. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you're going to be successful, really successful. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, your goal is to help people. You can't even lose. I walked away so frustrated. I had a whole business plan in my pocket. You know what I mean? Like, this dude, but he was right. Now my organizations are, you know, we have 25 members that work with us. We're giving out millions of dollars a year. He was right. I couldn't see it 10 years ago, but he was right.
Hey, you know what this? You know what that just made me think of? Is like the whole dinner with Jay-Z, or $1 million meme that's been floating around social media, and like have people say, "Oh, I take the dinner with Jay-Z because he gonna put me on game." Blah blah blah. That's literally just what popped in my head just now.
Oh, that's a good point.
That literally just popped in my head. Like if you had the option of taking a dinner with Russell Simmons or the $1 million, and if you would have took the dinner with Russell Simmons, you would have been very, very pissed off. Because he definitely, that's all he's gonna tell you.
Good point. He gave me $1 million on the game. I didn't see it from that angle, but he had seen it from the mountaintop. Like, bro, the $1 million isn't the what are you becoming in life? That's what you need to be thinking about right now. And I didn't understand it then, but if I could talk to him again, you know, I would hug him and say thank you, man, for not giving me the money.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this podcast, I ask for two things. Number one, leave a 5-star review. And number two, pass it on to a friend who may enjoy it as well. And don't forget to subscribe to our other podcast, Mogul Motivation from True Stories Media.